Well, hello there, my sleepy friends. Welcome and settle in. Tonight, we're going to drift through a story of two brothers, a milkshake machine salesman, and how a small drive-in restaurant in the California desert grew into the most recognized brand on earth. Let your eyes close, let your breathing slow, and let the story carry you. Our story begins in the warm, golden light of Southern California. The year is 1940. The world is at war overseas, but here in America, a new kind of dream is taking shape. A dream built on highways, automobiles, and the restless desire to move faster, live easier, eat quicker. In this landscape of palm trees and endless roads, two brothers named Richard and Maurice McDonald, Dick and Mac, as everyone called them, opened a small drive-in restaurant in San Bernardino. It was called McDonald's BBQ, and it looked like 100 other roadside joints dotting the highways of the American West. Picture it now, a simple octagonal building, car hops in white uniforms carrying trays to customers parked in their cars. The menu was long: barbecue ribs, beef sandwiches, pork, tamales, and more. The brothers worked hard. The restaurant did well enough, but Dick and Mac McDonald were restless men. They looked at their crowded parking lot, at the teenagers loitering, at the car hops running back and forth, at the piles of dirty dishes, and they thought, there has to be a better way. Take a slow breath. Feel your body growing heavier against wherever you're resting. The brothers are thinking, and their thinking will change everything. By 1948, the brothers made a decision that seemed at the time almost reckless. They closed their successful restaurant for 3 months. They fired all the car hops. They threw out most of the menu, and they rebuilt everything from scratch. What emerged was something the world had never seen before. They called it the Speedy Service System. Imagine a restaurant where there are no waiters, no plates, no silverware. You walk up to a window. You order from a menu so small you can read it in seconds. Hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries, soft drinks, milkshakes, and pie. That's it. The food comes to you in paper wrappers, in paper bags. You eat it with your hands, and you're on your way. The brothers had studied factory assembly lines, the same principles that Henry Ford used to build automobiles. They applied those ideas to making food. Each worker had one job and one job only. One person added mustard and ketchup. Another added onions and pickles. Another wrapped the burgers. The process was choreographed like a ballet, precise and repeating, over and over, all day long. The burgers cost 15 cents. Fries cost 10. A milkshake was 20. Let that settle in your mind. 15 cents for a hamburger. In today's money, that's about $1.75. It was astonishingly cheap, and because every burger was made the same way, every time, customers knew exactly what they were getting. No surprises, no waiting, no fuss. At first, the new system struggled. The families with children stayed away. They missed the car hops, the novelty, the feeling of being served. But slowly, a different crowd arrived. Working-class families, cab drivers, traveling salesmen, people in a hurry, people watching their money. They came, they ate, they left satisfied, and they came back. Word spread. By the early 1950s, the McDonald brothers' little hamburger stand was selling over $1 million worth of food a year. Lines stretched around the block. Other restaurant owners started showing up just to watch, to study, to wonder how they could copy this strange new way of doing things. Breathe slowly now. Feel your muscles relaxing one by one. The brothers had built something special, but they were content. They had no grand ambitions. They liked their life in San Bernardino. They liked their matching Cadillacs and their big house on a hill. They did not dream of empire. Someone else did. His name was Ray Kroc. He was 52 years old in 1954, an age when most men of that era were thinking about slowing down. Ray Kroc was not most men. He had lived a dozen lives already. He'd been a piano player, an ambulance driver, a paper cup salesman, a real estate agent in Florida during the boom and bust of the 1920s. Nothing had quite worked out the way he'd hoped. Now he was selling milkshake machines, multi-mixers, they were called, devices that could make 5 milkshakes at once. He drove his car across the country, calling on restaurants, diners, and drugstore soda fountains. It was not glamorous work, but Ray Kroc believed in the product, believed in the hustle, believed that his big break was still out there, waiting. One day, an order crossed his desk that made him pause. A single restaurant in San Bernardino, California, had ordered 8 multi-mixers, 8 machines. That meant they could make 40 milkshakes at the same time. What kind of restaurant could possibly need that? He had to see for himself. Picture Ray Kroc pulling into the parking lot of McDonald's on a summer day in 1954. The California sun is blazing, and what he sees stops him cold. A line of customers stretching out the door. Families, workers, teenagers, all waiting patiently for their turn at the window. The kitchen visible through the glass. A whirl of motion. Workers moving in perfect rhythm. Burgers flying onto the grill. Fries tumbling into bags. He watched for hours. He came back the next day and watched again. And something clicked in his mind. A vision, fully formed, of what this little restaurant could become. This will go any place, he told the brothers. Lots of places. Lots and lots of places. Dick and Mac were skeptical. They'd tried franchising before, with mixed results. Managing distant locations was exhausting. Quality slipped, headaches multiplied. They liked their simple, profitable life. But Ray Kroc was relentless. He negotiated. He pleaded. He promised he would handle everything. The franchising, the expansion, the problems. All they had to do was let him try. On March 2nd, 1955, Ray Kroc incorporated a new company, McDonald's System, Inc. A few weeks later, he opened his first franchise in Des Plaines, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. It was raining that day. The French fries came out wrong on the first batch, but the restaurant opened, and customers came, and the machine Ray Kroc had dreamed of began to turn. Let your thoughts drift now, like clouds passing across a wide Illinois sky. The story is just beginning. Ray Kroc had a philosophy. He used to say, if you've got time to lean, you've got time to clean. He believed in systems. He believed in standards. He believed that every McDonald's, whether in Des Plaines or Dallas or Denver, should be exactly the same. He sent inspectors to every franchise. He wrote thick manuals detailing every procedure, how hot the grill should be, how long to cook the fries, how many pickles belonged on each burger, too, how thick the onions should be sliced, 1/4 of an inch. Nothing was left to chance. Franchisees who didn't follow the rules were cut loose. Quality control was gospel. Ray Kroc understood something that many businessmen of his era did not. In a world where people were moving more, traveling more, eating away from home more often, consistency was worth more than gold. A customer in Los Angeles should be able to walk into a McDonald's and get the exact same burger they'd eaten in Boston. No surprises, no disappointments, just that familiar taste, that familiar wrapper, that familiar feeling. By 1958, McDonald's had sold 100 million hamburgers. The company was growing fast. New locations opening every month, new franchisees signing on, new states being conquered. But Ray Kroc was not satisfied. He pushed harder, he dreamed bigger, and he made a decision that would prove to be one of the most important in business history. In the late 1950s, McDonald's was growing, but it wasn't making Ray Kroc rich. The franchise agreements he'd signed with the McDonald brothers limited how much he could charge franchisees. Just 1.9% of gross sales, with a large portion going back to Dick and Mac. Kroc was building an empire, but the profit margins were razor thin. Then he met a man named Harry Sonneborn. Sonneborn was a financial expert, a numbers man with a sharp eye for opportunity. He looked at McDonald's business model and saw something Kroc had missed. "You're not in the hamburger business," Sonneborn told him. "You're in the real estate business. Here's how it worked. Instead of letting franchisees find and lease their own locations, McDonald's would lease the land and buildings itself. Then the company would sublease to the franchisees at a significant markup. If a franchisee succeeded, McDonald's collected rent as well as royalties. If a franchisee failed, McDonald's still owned the lease and could install someone new. It was elegant. It was brilliant. It aligned the interests of the company with the interests of every franchise owner, and it gave McDonald's leverage. If a franchisee didn't follow the rules, didn't keep the standards, didn't pass inspection, McDonald's could simply decline to renew the lease. The strategy transformed the company's finances. Ray Kroc formed a new entity, Franchise Realty Corporation, to buy and lease properties. Money poured in. By the 1960s, McDonald's was one of the largest owners of commercial real estate in America, a hamburger company sitting on a fortune in land. Breathe in slowly, breathe out. The machine is growing, piece by piece, deal by deal, location by location. The golden arches are rising across the American landscape. By 1961, Ray Kroc had grown tired of the arrangement with the McDonald brothers. He resented sending them royalty checks. He bristled at the limitations of his contract. He wanted full control, so he made them an offer, $2.7 million for everything. The name, the system, the original San Bernardino restaurant, all of it. It was a staggering sum, about $27 million in today's money. The brothers accepted. After taxes, each walked away with roughly $1 million. They were wealthy, they were retired, they could live out their days in comfort. But there was one wrinkle. The brothers wanted to keep their original restaurant in San Bernardino, the place where everything had started. Ray Kroc agreed to let them keep the building, but not the name. They renamed it the Big M. And here, the story takes a colder turn. Ray Kroc, the man who had built McDonald's into a national phenomenon, who had made the brothers rich beyond their dreams, nursed a grudge. He felt the brothers had been obstacles. He felt the $2.7 million had been extortion. So he did something petty, something vindictive. He opened a brand new McDonald's just 1 block away from the original San Bernardino location. The Big M couldn't compete. Within a few years, it closed. Dick McDonald never got over it. He called it the greatest regret of his life. The brothers faded from the story, almost forgotten, while Ray Kroc became a legend. Let that sit with you. Success is rarely a simple story of good people doing good things. It's messier than that, but the machine kept growing. Through the 1960s, McDonald's spread like wildfire. The timing was perfect. America was changing. Suburbs were exploding outward from every major city. Highways were being built, the interstate system, the greatest public works project in history, ribbons of concrete connecting every corner of the nation. Families were buying second cars. Women were entering the workforce in greater numbers, leaving less time for home-cooked meals. McDonald's fit into this new world perfectly. Quick, cheap, convenient, predictable. You could spot the golden arches from a quarter-mile away, a beacon of familiarity in an unfamiliar landscape. And those arches, let's talk about them. The original design came from the brothers themselves back in the early 1950s. They'd hired an architect to design their new building, and he suggested 2 soaring yellow arches, one on each side, visible from the road. The shape suggested motion, energy, optimism. It looked like the future. Ray Kroc understood the power of that image. He made the arches the centerpiece of McDonald's branding, not just architecture, but identity. By the mid-1960s, when the company redesigned its logo, the 2 arches merged into one iconic M. It became one of the most recognized symbols on Earth, as familiar as the Coca-Cola script, as ubiquitous as the American flag. Close your eyes now, if you haven't already. Picture a highway at dusk, the sky turning purple and orange, headlights sweeping past, and there, glowing against the gathering dark, those golden arches, a promise of warmth, food, and rest. Millions of travelers saw that same sight, felt that same small comfort. Ray Kroc believed that consistency required training, serious training, rigorous training, the kind of training you'd find at a university. So in 1961, he created one. Hamburger University opened in the basement of a McDonald's restaurant in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. It sounds like a joke, but it was deadly serious. Franchisees and managers came from across the country to study the McDonald's way. They learned about grill temperatures and fryer times, about customer service and inventory management, about the precise ballet of the kitchen. The curriculum grew more sophisticated over the years. By the 1980s, Hamburger University had its own campus, its own faculty, its own library of research on fast food operations. Students graduated with degrees in hamburgerology. The training was so thorough, so professional, that other companies began to imitate it. Today, Hamburger University has campuses on multiple continents. More than 275,000 people have graduated from its programs. It remains one of the most unusual and most effective corporate training systems ever devised. Breathe deeply. Let your mind wander through those classrooms. Men and women in aprons, learning the precise way to salt French fries, the exact technique for assembling a Big Mac. It seems so small, so mundane. But Ray Kroc understood that excellence is built from 1,000 small perfections. For most of the 1960s, the McDonald's menu stayed remarkably simple. Hamburgers, cheeseburgers, fries, milkshakes, soft drinks. That was nearly it. Ray Kroc resisted change. He feared that new items would slow down the assembly line, introduce inconsistency, dilute the brand. But franchisees were restless. They saw opportunities, and some of them began to experiment. In 1965, a franchisee named Lou Groen faced a problem. His restaurant was in a heavily Catholic neighborhood in Cincinnati. On Fridays, when Catholics abstained from meat, his sales plummeted. He needed something to offer, so he invented a fish sandwich, a breaded fillet of cod on a bun with tartar sauce. He called it the Filet-O-Fish. Ray Kroc was skeptical. Fish at McDonald's? But he gave Groen a chance to prove himself. On a single Friday, Groen's restaurant would sell both the Filet-O-Fish and a competing meatless item Kroc had devised, a grilled pineapple slice with cheese called the Hula Burger. The Filet-O-Fish won in a landslide. It went national. It's still on the menu today. Other innovations followed. In 1968, a franchisee in Pittsburgh named Jim Delegati introduced a new sandwich: 2 beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. He called it the Big Mac. Ray Kroc resisted at first. 3 pieces of bread seemed excessive. But the sandwich was a sensation. By 1968, it was on every McDonald's menu in America. The Egg McMuffin came in 1972, invented by Herb Peterson in Santa Barbara, a way to bring McDonald's into the breakfast market. The Happy Meal arrived in 1979, a stroke of marketing genius that made McDonald's the destination for families with children. Each innovation followed the same pattern: a franchisee with an idea, careful testing, and then, if successful, national rollout with the full force of the McDonald's system behind it. By the time Ray Kroc died in 1984, McDonald's was no longer just a restaurant chain. It was a cultural institution. Consider the numbers. By 1984, McDonald's had more than 8,000 locations worldwide. It was serving 22 million customers every day. It was one of the largest purchasers of beef, potatoes, and lettuce in the United States. It was among the nation's biggest employers, a ladder of opportunity for millions of young Americans who got their first job behind the counter or at the grill. The company had become so large, so influential, that economists invented a term, the Big Mac Index. By comparing the price of a Big Mac in different countries, analysts could estimate currency values and purchasing power. A hamburger sandwich had become a benchmark for the global economy. McDonald's wasn't just selling food, it was selling a vision of American life: clean, efficient, optimistic, democratic. Whether you were a factory worker or a lawyer, a teenager, or a grandparent, you could afford a Big Mac. The Golden Arches welcomed everyone. And yet, even in success, there were questions. Critics wondered whether fast food was healthy, whether the jobs were good enough, whether the relentless standardization stripped something essential from the experience of eating. These debates would intensify in the decades to come. But for now, in the early 1980s, McDonald's stood triumphant. Ray Kroc, the restless milkshake machine salesman who had seen his vision in a California parking lot, had built one of the most successful companies in history. He had turned 2 brothers' clever idea into an American empire. He died wealthy, famous, and fulfilled. His ashes were scattered over the Pacific Ocean. After Ray Kroc, McDonald's continued to grow, but the world around it was changing. The 1990s brought new challenges. Competitors multiplied. Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, Subway, and dozens of regional chains, all fighting for the same customers. Health concerns mounted. A generation of Americans started to worry about fat, calories, and cholesterol. The word supersizing entered the language, and not always as a compliment. In 2004, a documentary called Super Size Me put McDonald's under a harsh spotlight. The filmmaker ate nothing but McDonald's for 30 days and filmed the damage to his health. The movie was a cultural sensation. McDonald's faced protests, boycotts, and uncomfortable questions. The company responded. It removed the supersize option. It added salads, apple slices, and grilled chicken to the menu. It posted calorie counts. It tried to reposition itself as a place where you could eat healthier if you chose to. And it kept innovating. McCafe brought espresso drinks and lattes to the menu, challenging Starbucks on its own turf. All-day breakfast, introduced in 2015, was a massive hit. Mobile ordering, delivery partnerships, and digital kiosks modernized the experience. Through it all, the core remained. Those golden arches, those familiar flavors, that promise of consistency. A Big Mac in 2024 tastes very much like a Big Mac in 1968. That continuity is part of the magic. Today, McDonald's operates more than 40,000 restaurants in over 100 countries. It serves 69 million customers every single day. It is one of the most valuable brands on the planet, worth an estimated $200 billion. But it is also something more than a company. McDonald's is a mirror reflecting whatever society looks at it. It has been praised as a symbol of American ingenuity and criticized as a symbol of American excess. It has been embraced as a source of affordable meals for working families and blamed for environmental damage, labor exploitation, and the obesity epidemic. The truth is complicated, as truths tend to be. McDonald's is a business designed to make money, but it is also a shared experience for billions of people. A first job, a childhood treat, a late-night meal after a long drive, a familiar taste in a foreign city. Think back now. Think back to San Bernardino in 1940. Two brothers with a barbecue restaurant, an octagonal building, car hops and long menus, and the open California sky. They had no idea what they were starting. No one could have predicted the golden arches rising over 6 continents, the billions of burgers sold, the Hamburger University graduates in their pressed uniforms, the Happy Meals and Big Macs and filet-o-fish sandwiches. It began with a simple question. How do we make this faster? How do we make this better? How do we serve more people more efficiently without sacrificing quality? The McDonald brothers found an answer. Ray Kroc saw its potential, and together, despite their differences, their conflicts, their regrets, they created something that changed the world. Now, let the story settle. Let the images drift away. The California highways, the golden arches glowing at dusk, the assembly lines and milkshake machines and training manuals. You've traveled through nearly a century of American history. You've met dreamers and schemers, inventors and imitators, people who saw the future before anyone else. Now it's time to rest. Breathe slowly. Let your body sink deeper. The world outside can wait. The golden arches will still be there tomorrow, standing at the edge of highways and strip malls, glowing in the dark, just as they have for decades. For now, there is only this moment, only this quiet, only the slow, easy rhythm of your breathing. Sleep well.